and they've got 2 sets of these buskers, but maybe it's a festival. But the colors are wrong, and that's not good. So we need to select these both and put them into a folder, which make a new folder here. Select these 2 and pop them in the group. And now we want to bring up an adjustment layer, which is this button here. And this is more non-destructive editing. It's I guess you can do levels, all the adjustment commands that live here under images adjustments. But with adjustment layers, you'll be able to do them, and then it's non-destructive, so it doesn't like affect anything else besides what you've got there. And I believe if you put it in the group, that it doesn't affect the one down there. Maybe I'm wrong.
The whole way I figure out how to do that is if you connect it to one layer, but I don't know how to do it.
You can connect it to the group.
There's an option, so I wasn't there.
Yeah.
All
What?
like the way you connect it to a layer in general, you will also pick the line between the layer and the mask.
This? I'll learn stuff every day too.
This.
Oh
And
yeah.
then it just connects it to there, but I don't know how to. I don't know how to connect it to multiple layers. That version of it.
Alt. And then you connect. Click on the
Now it's not adjusting any of those.
It's because you're masking.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, basically, the point of adjustment layers is that you can turn it on and off. Whereas if I use the layers command, if I use an adjustment command on a single image, it's going to destroy the qualities just like a free transform would. And there's a way you can even get, say, a free transformed image like this, and if I convert that to a smart object and then adjust it, and then I realize, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I can adjust it back without losing the data.
How did you convert it to a smart?
I forgot about this until just. That's why I brought it up. You can right click on it and convert to smart object.
So what is a smart object?
Smart object means that Photoshop remembers all your pixels, even though you might not be able to see them. So in something like this, where I'm stretching pixels, and if I was doing this traditionally, I would be breaking information because it's changing the sort of grid layout. But because it's a smart object, when I go back to edit it, to transform,
I'll remember what that.
yeah.
So is there a
and,
disadvantage to converting anything to smart object?
Mask it and everything or both?
I think you can mask it. I don't think you can use all the effects on it. There's a bunch of stuff that, yeah. I mean, masking is pretty separate from any sort of effects. You might not be able to apply.
Can you erase?
I don't think you can erase. No, it's considered to be like a total like thing there. So you have to rasterize it. And so yeah, if you've got the smart object and you want to get it back, you're gonna right click on the layer and go to rasterize layer. So after you've gotten it adjusted, do that. Let's say we need more crowd. One of the easy ways to do this is we just like select it all, hold Alt, drag it up, put it behind. Our crowd is growing exponentially. And we can squish them. Adjust that.
What was that last command you used to deselect? Was it just deselect and it places everything?
Sorry.
Because usually it asks if that's how you want to place it, right?
Oh, enter.
Enter. Just.
Yeah. If you've got it selected and you like your position, enter.
Okay.
If you've got it and you mess up, then escape. And it's actually the same with text as well. You enter and escape or confirm and get out of it.
You hit Alt and click and drag that copies it.
Yeah. Same as Illustrator. But you have to, unlike Illustrator where you can sort of drag it and then hold Alt and drop it around, you've got to hold Alt before you click down and you'll get the double arrow like this. And then with that you can start copying things. And as long as you have all these layers selected, they'll work as one. You can free transform them as one. Does anyone have some specific questions about things they've run into in Photoshop that they're unsure about or wanted to be able to do? There's a lot of things you can do with gradients that I haven't really talked about, or some of the more like overtly complex ways
I have a question.
of copying.
What about like if you have a line models like really done for and some context massing and you render it 3x block, you want to add just like a little bit of, just a little bit of like texture to it, a little bit of grain. Is it pretty much the same thing, just sort of overlay?
Say like this,
Yeah.
that it's yeah, you've got your model. This is a bad example because it's got a ground in there we have to work around. But let's say this one, which apparently is totally this here. So we have our model. Excuse me. In the center here, and to begin, I'd say, just so you can tell what you're doing, it's often helpful to drop a black background in behind it, just while you're working, something you can turn on and off. And I guess the first step you're going to want to do is add a little bit of gray to it, because as full white Photoshop doesn't affect it at all. So there's a few ways we can do it. One thing you can do is you can take an image if you want specific texture and drop it on that, like I was doing with this before, and work from that. So if we have this, we can break this down with a filter, say add noise to this image. One of the, probably the most elegant way to do things is also just to paint on there. And if you've got something like this, you can bring up the brush tool, bring down the opacity, and sort of adjust the amount of control you're putting on here by painting sort of light amounts of gray over your piece. And that's also probably the best way to do shadows. If you've got an image like this, let's bring back this, and you've got to drop some shadows in there. If you go up one and got the black, put this somewhere like that, and just start painting out some shadows generally where you want them to be. If you want them to be sharp, you can draw them with the lasso tool, and get it on there. Then you can take your shadow, go to blending modes, drop down through these so you get something where you might want some of the brighter tones to come through. Lower that down. If it's not enough, you can duplicate the layer, set a different blending mode on that, perhaps just normal, at a lower opacity. Inside the shape, when you want to do shadows inside something, really the best way to do it is to paint it on. You can always do tricks where you take the object and like this. Take the object, in this case it's a smart object, so we're gonna have to rasterize it, and squash it into sort of a shadow shape. And then go turn it black, lower the opacity, and you've got a shadow. But I don't like that very much because this is not actually how the shadow would look. You won't get these holes here. And to get more realistic shadows, it's just a question of painting it on and really pulling up a brush tool, just going one up over this and sort of gently, no, that's the wrong place. Sorry. Just getting some shadow in there that you can go back and clean up. And then of course, if you're trying to paint on something like this, I'm making a big mess here, going off the edge, you can select back your object, go to this, or sorry, select this, go to your layer of shadow, and invert the selection by going Control-Shift-I, and dropping a layer mask on it. Oh sorry, we actually didn't invert the selection. And then dropping the layer mask on it, and we'll remove the shadow that's still on the shape. That's so weird. But yeah, I think some of the
How do you like to do like trees and stuff like that? Stuff with like lots of complicated things like that.
that's a case where really finding a tree on a light background or cutting it out and then popping one of these on there, depending on what it is. Like if it's a tree on you've got your tree against a light sky.